Previously on Broadway Radical. And if Great Comet doesn't win Best Score, I will light myself on fire. I guess I'm setting more than myself on fire. So I was live tweeting a little bit during the 2.5, was it 3 hours? It seemed like forever this year. But I was also just writing a little bit in a Word document. And I'm just gonna go through it, and then we'll get to talking about the real stuff. The real stuff. We'll just keep it at that. My feelings about who won what. So that's gonna be fun. Anyway, let's get into this. First off, I was so hyped. I was like, I don't know, Kevin Spacey seems kind of a weird choice to host the Tony Awards. I mean, but I was like, oh, they'll probably, like, you know, justify it. You know, they'll be like a justification, like, here's why that guy is the guy to host the Tony Awards, and I still don't know why he hosted the Tony Awards. And then half the time, no, like 75% of the time, he was just doing impressions that were like really outdated. The whole show, I was like, you're gonna do something about House of Cards, right? It just came out. You're gonna do something about House of Cards, right? And he didn't really. And then at the end, having him and like some of the principal characters come on stage, and that was a really good moment. That was worth watching him do everything else. Anyway, the moment it opens up and I saw the cast with the word host written on it, I was like, I'm so in. And so I was thinking the whole time, like, what if this number, I'm just thinking of Kevin Spacey doing this all, but it's actually Frank Underwood from House of Cards. And that made it 100% better. Kevin boy was kind of struggling in the Dear Evan Hansen parts, and that's because they're really high. But when it got to Great Comet, he was like, oh, I could really sing. Like, and you could tell, because that bit that he did with Patty at the end, it was like, oh, he's actually like able to sing. That's weird. Like, he got it. What was going on with Whoopi Goldberg? Just in general. What was that? I don't know. That was an awkward scene. Scarlett Johansson's hair goals. When they said, oh, you have to go back to The Rock. Oh no, I mean this Rock. And I swear to God, I expected Dwayne Johnson to just show up like, hey guys, I'm at the Tonys now. I'm everywhere. That dude is everywhere now. He's everywhere now. Because apparently he's running for president, because that's just what we need. Okay, everything about Miss Saigon this whole time, I was like, can we not with that show? Just in general. And then they came off, and it was like one of those sections with Rachel Bloom, who, by the way, I thought was the real host of the Tonys, and pretty much obsessed with her, pretty much the love of my life. It was like, the host thing was like, oh, it's Kevin Spacey, but actually it's Rachel Bloom backstage. So I think it was Rachel Bloom. Is that her last name? It was Rachel Chavkin, Rachel Bay Jones. There were so many Rachels. Anyway, but then I saw her with like the cast of Miss Saigon in those uniforms, the military uniforms, and I was just, and they're all like beaming. They're all very happy, and it was really uncomfortable. Just, And during that whole Tony, and during the whole performance of that, no, just, I don't know. why Miss Saigon is not a great thing could be its own episode, but just suffice it to say, during any of the times that any of that was going on, I was just like, all right, time to get a snack. I learned how to pronounce Mike Feist. It's Feist instead of faced, like waste. So learned that because I know somebody on the other video was like, oh, you pronounced his name wrong, when I said in that video, yeah, I'm probably pronouncing people's names wrong. So I'll say to you what I said in the comment. My dude, I pronounce everyone's name wrong. Anyway, Falsettos was filmed, apparently, so that's real good. Be seeing that take all of my money. Gavin Creel won his award, and he's been doing this for a while, and I don't think he's won before, so good for him. I thought the writers introducing their plays and what they're about was a great idea. I think that took that from my video on how the Tonys could be better, or why the Tonys are garbage. It's not actually, but because I suggested that plays should be a bigger part, and then they took that advice, so clearly it's because of me. Rachel Bloom is everything. I wrote down that again. Great comment. One for scenic design. That's good. Something. They didn't win for costumes. Hello Dolly did. Look, I have no idea what Hello Dolly is about. Confession. I've never seen it. I've never listened to it. It's not really my thing. I will listen to it at some point in the future, but I can imagine probably the costumes for that were like, at least from what I saw of David Hyde Pearson, like all of the pictures, it's like, oh great, it's very this sort of extravagant-ish period costumes that we've seen over and over again. Great. But I don't know. Maybe they weren't. I don't know. It's not like I've been to see any of these shows, except illegally, so... Did I mention I'm in love with Anna Kendrick? Completely, totally. She was there for like 5 seconds, but that was like the best 5 seconds of the show for me. Dear Evan Hansen also won Best Book, so I guess my theory about the Tony voters putting all their eggs in one basket, not to say I was right, but I was completely right, except about all the things I was wrong about. So, yeah. Can we talk about the American Theater Wing presentation, which is a great organization. It's not to disparage them at all. I think they're great, like, obviously in support of that. But, like, the PowerPoint presentation that was going on, it was just like, still picture, still picture, like, they weren't edited together in any cohesive way. It was just like somebody had a remote, like, slide next. I thought that was hilarious, and I don't think anyone else noticed it, but maybe. James Earl Jones got an award that was like barely televised, but it's pretty good. Darth Vader, Mufasa, the dude in Driving Miss Daisy. I know that he's like the greatest, but I can't think of another thing he's been in, but probably a lot. So, also, I thought it was cute that he, like, complimented his wife and everything. I'm, like, obsessed with, people, like, complimenting, like, I don't know, just being affectionate toward their spouses. It's just a thing I have. I don't know, I'm attracted to love. Not sure how cliche that sounds. Many people have said this next one, but why was the number from Hello Dolly David Hyde Pierce's his solo song about loose change? what was up with that? What in the world was up with that? Yeah, like, it's the song that was cut for the original production, and now we see why. Because that's not what they're going to see the show for. And I think that was a big, I don't know if you can call it scandal, but everybody waiting for Bette Midler and waiting for Bette Midler, and then Bette Midlered later. Rachel Bay Jones won, and that's great because she's the cutest. And her, she kind of reminded me of like Winona Ryder during the Stranger Things acceptance speech, like so like manic and like all over the place, but it was very endearing. She's great. Why were the Rockettes there? Not like they're not bad, but like nobody's here to see them. Although Cynthia Erivo and Leslie Odom Jr. coming on was like, okay, that's pretty great, but that did not need to happen. The greatest moment, actually, though, was right after the war paint performance when you see Patti LuPone come off stage and Josh Groban's in costume about to go on, and you can see him bowing down to her. You can see Josh Groban fangirling over Patti LuPone, and it is so good. It's so good. It's so good. That was the best moment. Josh Gad, what the hell? I actually believed you that you were going to be in a revival of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum as Pseudolus. You dick. You dick. I believed you. There are 3 things that I expected this award show to touch on, right, going in. Hamilton, because of its history, and it's still a phenom. Is that a phrase? Like phenomenal, but like it's still a phenomenon among theater circles. Anyway, House of Cards, because Kevin Spacey, which came at the end, and the election, and we got like 3 little references to those, which was pretty much it in like a little bit amount of time, and it was like almost nothing. I think there's probably like 1,000 gifs of Ben Platt literally melting into his chair as Kevin Spacey was doing the Bill Clinton impression and knocking off Hillary Clinton on the Times some list of like influential people or something like that, and Ben Platt just like sinking into his chair. You've probably seen it a million times by now. It's hilarious. Ben Platt is great. I always think it's really interesting when people they hear the wind down music, like, hey, this is your cue to get off, and they keep shouting over the music. And there was a definite escalation of that this year, because you know how it ended with Bette Midler, but you know, each person kind of like stretched it a little bit, and I want to say thank you, and I was saying that, and also, and they like just completely disregarded it, but they had to go eventually. The whole food bit with, okay, first of all, and then like Waitress did a bit where Sarah Bareilles is selling pie, like, okay, you're cute, Waitress, cool, great, awesome. And then Willy Wonka, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, actually, and it's not even Christian Borle, which, okay, is it actually pronounced Borle? Because that's how Kevin Spacey pronounced it, and I don't think it's pronounced Borle. I think it's pronounced Borle. One of us is wrong. So, it might be me, but it might not. But nobody seemed to catch that. I don't know. And then Bronx Tale came on. It was like, who cares about you? who even are you? I'm not saying you're bad. I'm just saying, like, you walked in the room like, who is this guy? That's as far back as I could get in my head. Stephen Colbert's Washington joke just had, like, no actual point or bite to it. It was just like, hey, a little jab at the president as if it isn't a constitutional crisis. You have a fascist in the White House that has no respect for the laws that keep this country in place, and has actively allowed a major foreign power to actively seek to disrupt the flow of our democracy. But whatever. Wouldn't want it to get too political. Anyway, Ben Platt won. Good. Bette Midler won. Okay, I guess. And then she made everything about her, which is good or bad depending on your opinion of Bette Midler. Regardless of that, I love the fact that she's like, shut that crap off. And they did. Or maybe they just ran out of music, but at some point they were just like, alright, one of us is gonna lose. And she seems like she's gonna keep talking forever, so I guess, alright, fine. Guess you win this one, Bette Midler. I guess everything's about you. Whatever. This is pretty much the first time I've seen Lynn with a shaved face in as long as I can remember, and that's real weird. Did you know that he could have a face that didn't have a beard on it? And then Lynn came on, he was like, best musical nominees, if you've made it this far, you've already won. Which, it's easy for him to say, because when he made it that far, he had already won. Which was pretty apparent to anyone watching the Tonys. Nobody was watching the Tonys last year like, I think literally anything other than Hamilton's gonna win. Like, nobody thought that. I guess that leads me to the final. Look, okay. I'm not saying Dear Evan Hansen deserves no recognition, but it I'm pretty pissed, and it's not really about Dear Evan Hansen winning. It's more about Great Comet just getting completely robbed of pretty much everything. And I know I'm not alone in this opinion. And believe me, mental health means more to me than it is my life. I live every day of my life with a somewhat debilitating mental illness, and it's always on my mind. I think shows like that, pieces of art like that pull mental illness into focus and discuss it are valuable, but it wasn't the only one that had value. If you're gonna give Great Comet anything, if you're gonna give it an award for anything, best score or best orchestrations, because you can't look at that. you can't look at that production. You can't. Aside from the production, you can't look at that piece of art, that music, that score, the whole set of the orchestrations, and say, oh, that doesn't, and just completely overlook that. And as the show went on, I kind of got the sense like, oh, they're giving everything to Dear Evan Hansen because they're betting on that being the one that drives people, and that's fine. It's just, I think Dave Malloy got a slap in the face and an unneeded. It was actually insulting to him and to the cast and crew that worked on it. I know they got like a few awards, but honestly, I mean, Tonys are not everything, right? This is why I don't like Best. Like, this is part of the reason I think the Tonys and all award shows are bullshit, because it all boils down to what is the best. It's not necessarily, you know, what is best, but it's what we choose. It's just the thing that we chose. And the thing that the Academy chose this year was Dear Evan Hansen, and that's not a bad thing, but I just think it was totally unfair. And, you know, this incredibly inventive, like, it pushed the boundaries of what we could do with musical theater. Even on a craft level. I'm not saying that either one has to be more or less, that either one has to be better, you know, than each other. They can both be great. Because Come From Away and Groundhog Day basically, I mean, predictions wise, I was pretty much right with that. That they basically got nothing. I'm not saying they deserve nothing, but like, compared to great competent Evan Hansen, like, who cares? And nobody did care. It's just that, I don't know, see, this is the problem with awards, is that greatness gets forgotten, gets totally overlooked. Great comic got robbed. That's my honest assessment. So, of something, I mean, give it something. It deserves something. So, and I don't know. On the other hand, it's just an award show. It doesn't affect the quality of the work, and life will go on. I really hope that he gets another chance. I really hope that Dave Malloy gets another chance. This is not his first musical. It's his first musical on Broadway. That's, you know, first musical that's been this big. He has a website that you can go and you can look at excerpts from his previous shows that he's done from smaller venues to this, and it's, you know, Pasek and Paul have had commercial success already. I mean, they wrote La La Land, and, you know, even though it technically didn't win Best Picture at the Oscars, you know, they've attained it, and I really hope Dave Malloy just keeps writing, and I hope producers are willing to give him another chance, because I think they took an incredible risk doing what they did with this. I mean, a musical adaptation of War and Peace, and then combined with this weird experimental, like, electropop opera score. That is a recipe for not something you see on Broadway every day. I just hope it's not forgotten, and I hope we see his next show. I don't know, it just makes me really kind of bummed, to be honest, because, you know, I think Dear Evan Hansen probably would have succeeded on some level, especially community theater wise. I don't know, man, but anyway, that's what I thought on the Tonys. On most things, I agreed with the consensus, and, you know, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Da-na-na, da-na-na, da-na-na. That's just the way it is. Anybody? Tupac? Please don't copyright claim me. That's just the way it is. We're at 33 minutes. I'm probably gonna cut this short. Anyway, I have new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Possibly more this week if I'm maybe thinking about a part 2 about a different aspect of this Tonys. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, and subscribe if you want to. Yeah. do that.